Hello everyone, welcome to SIUK India webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We are now live with the University of Loughborough. We have Ashley, Rob, Jason, Florence, Sandeep, Mazhar and Abhinav with us today, who will let us know more about this special webinar session. Please feel free to post all the questions in the chat box on the right. We will answer all the questions after the presentation during the Q&A session. So let's start. Over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Deepika. Thank you so much for joining. My name's Rob from the International Office at Loughborough University, and we're here today to talk to you about programs and opportunities that you may be interested in at our campus in London. So thanks so much for joining. This is an opportunity to learn not only about what we offer and our postgraduate opportunities of study, but to hear what it's like from an Indian student's perspective. Well, in fact, 3 Indian students. So we've got a fantastic panel today to brief you on what opportunities you may have and to help answer the questions as we go through. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Ashley Gray, who's going to give you information on studying at Loughborough. Ashley, over to you.
Thanks, Rob. And I've remembered to unmute myself straight off the bat there too. So a real pleasure to be able to speak to you today all the way from London and share a little bit about what we're doing over here at the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. So yeah, next slide, please, Rob. So what we'll cover today, well, just first up, this is a live recording. It's being recorded as well. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Loughborough University London, and then a little bit about Future Space, which exists within the London campus offering. And within that, again, I'm then going to talk to you about a program that we call Collaborate, which I lead, and then we'll hear from our fantastic student panel too, and have some time for Q&A at the end also. Next slide, please, Rob. So yeah, a little bit more about me first of all. So I'm Learning Partnerships Manager here at Loughborough University London. I lead out the Collaborate program, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. But basically my job is to bring external partners, both London, rest of the UK and internationally, onto campus, into the curriculum as part of your learning in the various ways that we do that. My background is actually sports engineering and innovation. I actually spent a good few years back at the London, the Midlands campus, working in sports technology and sports science related fields. And yeah, I've got a big interest in future population health too. New slide, please. So yeah, brief introduction to our student panel who we'll hear from later on. So we've got Abhinav, if you're able to give a wave, Sandeep and Mazhar with us as well today. So fantastic that we're able to be joined by them today. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from a little bit more later on too. So a bit more about our London campus. What's Loughborough University London all about? So we are a multidisciplinary postgraduate campus based at the London Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park. We're actually part of a whole kind of redevelopment of what happened after the London 2012 Olympic Games. So we are part of a huge ecosystem called Here East. So very much linked towards industry. We've got innovation networks. We've got really interesting organizations. Our next door neighbor is a TV channel. So BT Sport, you may have heard of them. So we're constantly seeing various football and other sporting celebrities come our way too. But yeah, we occupy a space of 9,000 square meters. And yeah, I've mentioned our partners there, or indeed, I've mentioned our neighbours, and by that very nature, with them being neighbours, a lot of them are actually some of our partners in some of our programs too. So new slide, please. So why would you want to come to London? Hopefully this doesn't require much of a sell, but it is one of the best student or the best student city in the world back in 2019, rated by QS. So 300 different languages spoken here in London. It's very multicultural. The Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park is actually a heart of a dynamic new East London community. I've mentioned Here East, but it's part of an even bigger community here. It's a fantastic space to be, very vibrant, very new, but also very interlinked with some of the kind of original spaces around the Hackney Wick space, very creative space too. The park has been awarded the prestigious Green Flag Award for 7th year in a row, so it's a fantastic place to just be recreationally here. So a lot of people do come to Olympic Park just to enjoy themselves too. We've got, swimming pools, we've got other sports facilities too. We've got the Olympic Stadium, of course, which, as well as being West Ham United's place to play football, we also host various huge gigs as well, music gigs and the like too. Next slide, please. So here East, it's I've mentioned it briefly already, but it's a space for makers. So we've got a whole host of really interesting businesses there. So some more established, such as Ford, the automobile maker, to Lloyd's Banking Group. We've got Sports Interactive, who some of you may know, they make the game called Football Manager. But it also plays host to a number of fast-growing, really exciting, innovative, smaller businesses too. So, for example, a new organisation I've just been starting to get to know is very much involved in blockchain. It's an incubator of blockchain technologies. So, a fantastic place to just be right next door to. Why is here East? Why is this whole space interesting as well? Well, those academics that come here are quite inspired to be close to that industry setup too, because that influences and really ignites their thinking about where they can apply what they're researching, and obviously then share that onto you as part of your curriculum. So yeah, a really nice bridge of public and private sector. Next slide, please, Rob. So a few accolades I mentioned here. So best university, Loughborough was awarded best university in the UK. Compared that to, top, So the top 200 universities in 2022. There's a whole bunch of other accolades there you can see too. So second in England for overall student satisfaction. UK's best student experience, first in Times Education survey for the 8th year running. And yeah, 5-star for institution for QS rankings in 2020. So whole host of awards that, we're very proud to pick up over the years. So a bit more about the campus. It's a 24-hour campus, so you can come in here and work whenever you need to. There's always access to the building. We've got 9,000 books and journals, 1.2 million resources online if you wanted to access any of them too. We have the laptops available for hire for free. A whole new enterprise hub that's now called Future Space that was opened in 2018, which I'm part of. There's also a dedicated PhD research hub, a cafe, but I think, and I guess I've intimated about this already, but outside of our campus too, there's a whole host of real opportunity from retailers such as, the big brand that you may know, Westfield, to cafes, bars, right down a beautiful place on the canal side where, literally seconds away from that. So you can really enjoy yourself while you're studying too. So I've mentioned, or hopefully getting a theme that there's a real interest in working with industry as part of the curriculum. And we've got a list of here of some of our partners that form part of our offering here or have done in the past. So you see there right at the top, Foster and Partners, responsible for some of the most impressive architecture in the world, to Chelsea FC. We've got the UK government there with the Home Office. Ogilvy, a fantastic partner that we've been working with for various years now, one of the biggest marketing communication agencies in the world. KPMG, I'm sure you probably know of, Nike, McLaren. So a whole host of partners from different sectors, both big and small, that we love to work with. New slide, please. So we've got 7 institutes here, so I'm not going to read through them all, but hopefully get a theme that these institutes were brought together to really service both a need from industry for where industry is going in the world, but also from students that really want to study something that is very applicable to their future career ambitions too. So things such as design innovation, so service design in things, to media, creative industries, innovation, entrepreneurship. It's all here. Digital technologies, goes without saying, a huge space for everyone in the world right now.
Just to jump in here, Ash, really, really good to have a flavour of the institutions. Just so you guys know at home, these degrees are generally going to be a 1-year master's degree that we would recognise commonly from a 3 or a 4-year bachelor's degree in India. We have certain requirements, which is usually equivalent to a UK 2-1. So that's really going to be around about 60% overall from your best of 3 or best of 4 years. So there are opportunities there. Even if you're not from one of these backgrounds, there's a lot of flexibility in you, for example, going from a engineering background to sport business, or perhaps going from a health background and wanting to go into management, or going into a digital space. So there is a lot of flexibility with our subject offering, and we allow students to change their career at Loughborough London, which is why we have quite a range of innovative options there. So just thought that's worth mentioning at this stage. But Ash, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. I'm glad you mentioned that. I guess, right, if we go back to that last slide again, Rob, right at the bottom there, you see the Institute for Sports Business, and it's almost easy to forget sometimes, but we've just been awarded QS World #1 University for Sport-Related Subjects once again. So again, a fantastic place to potentially be studying sports business if that's your area of interest. So master's programs, the teaching is led by industry knowledge and academic expertise, and maybe some of our students will be able to share a bit more about that. But essentially, our academic colleagues are very much working closely with industry during their research, but they also managed to bring some fantastic contacts and networks into the classroom. So I believe one of our students today, in fact, is having that experience. We had a brief conversation about it earlier today. So yeah, you get to hear from the industry experts as well as our academic experts too. And with that, we hope to think that you're very much up to date in what the real world insights and thinking is, and puts you in a fantastic position in terms of taking that next step in your career and going straight into industry, being a very compelling candidate for whichever direction you want to go. New slide, please. So collaboration and partnerships, it's varied, it's broad, constantly evolving, but it includes some of these, and more I'll speak about later too. But placements, internships, work experience. Again, the network is huge here and constantly growing. So we'd be posting, for example, opportunities on a board, on our opportunities board, our future space board. They are coming a lot of the time from some of our network that really appreciate the specific skills and experience that our students are receiving here at Loughborough London, and they really appreciate the students that come from this campus. Work-based dissertation opportunities, so I'll speak a bit more about that soon too. So we basically have an opportunity where you can do your dissertation in collaboration with an industry partner. We've got guest lectures, workshops, graduate recruitment, careers fairs, networking events, all that sort of thing there too. Site visits and trips as well. Some of our students may be able to talk about how valuable that is to actually get out into these industry partners or the network that we have. Destinations, just to give you an example, students go off back around the world and work at some fantastic places, but we can see there Google, BT, Uber, Accenture, all these big names that you may be are well aware of, and again a whole variation of roles, but business analyst, manager, senior producer. And it's we do really like to keep in touch with alumnus too, and it's fantastic to see how they have accelerated their career in even 1 or 2 years after leaving us. Companies work exclusively with us to recruit our graduates too. So they very much love to handpick some of the students that come here, and they get a good taste of that when they work so closely with us during the curriculum programs. Okay, next slide, please. So we do have scholarships available. So we've got an academic excellence scholarship. So that's a 10% fee reduction with a grade of 2-1 and 20% up to 20% towards fee reduction for graduates that have a first class degree too. We do have a Dean's Award for Enterprise, where 90% of fees are covered there too. Rob, is there anything more that you wanted to add on the scholarships item?
I think just to clarify that the top one there is available for everybody. It's merit based. There's not an application that's needed. So on receipt of your final consolidated mark sheets or degree certificates showing you've got the degree, just remember when we say a first class, it's a UK first class, similar to the ranking of a first class in India, but a first class in India for us generally would be around about 65%, sometimes 70%, depending on the institution. So if you meet that criteria, let's say 10, let's say 9, let's say on the basis you're getting 60 to 65%, you're likely to get a 10% scholarship. If you're getting 65 to 70, you're likely to get a 20% scholarship. So that for a lot of students is given without even an application. The Dean's Award for Enterprise is asking you to think about a new business idea or a venture, or using your kind of innovative skills to find a gap in the market. So it might be a product, a service, an app. It might just be a concept that you're looking to introduce. That is an application-based degree award for the scholarship. So you would need to spend time filling out a form, telling us your ideas, putting a slide deck together, having a business proposal ready. So if all of those things are ready to go, that could be worth, for some of our very lucky students, 90% of the fee. So you would only pay for 10% of your tuition fees if you were successful. And I guess the opportunity there is that this funding that we would give you through the scholarship would mean that you would, or certainly through the fee reduction, we're hoping you would obviously use this opportunity to use our networks within innovation and entrepreneurship and everything else to put this idea into practice. And we have support mechanisms to do this whilst you're studying with us. So again, that just that touches a bit more on the scholarship side. So over to you, Ash, on the Collaborate.
Thanks, Robin. And hopefully just that extra detail on the scholarship scheme gives you a kind of a flavour of the ethos that the campus is really trying to promote. We really are looking to encourage you to come here and yes, experience a fantastic postgraduate education, but also look to apply that knowledge, whether it's with an organisation or whether it's going on to develop your own ideas as an entrepreneur. And so that leads me nicely on to talk a little bit about Collaborate, because Collaborate was basically a founding principle of the campus, whereby every single student that comes to us, whatever master's degree they study, will get the chance to collaborate with an organisation as part of their curriculum programme. So it's integrated in the curriculum, I've said there, which is quite crucial. Because it is worthwhile. It's something that you need to do, and we're encouraged to do at your master degree level. So it comes in two forms: the collaborative project and the collaborative dissertation. I'll talk a little bit more about them next. So what's collaborative project? Well, collaborative project is the first part of Collaborate. It's where you will be working in a small team, so typically 4 or 5 students as part of a class, so maybe 25 to 30 students in a class. And within that class, that whole class will be working on an industry brief that's been specially provided to us by one of our partner organisations. You'll be led by an academic project lead to basically look to resolve that industry brief and come up with innovative solutions and propose them back to the industry partner. Our industry partners do work pretty closely with these classes, so they'll be checking in at the midpoint and sometimes even more, and then they'll come to a thing that we call the Collaborative Project Show, which is actually soon to occur in June, where basically a team representing each brief is nominated to present their summary findings at quite a huge public show. So about 300 people typically attend this show, and a great opportunity for students to showcase themselves, what they've done. Some students do, as you might imagine, get scouted by various companies and maybe offered employment opportunities off the back of this too. Collaborative dissertation, well, this is the same ethos, so collaborating with an external industry partner. It's maybe one of our partners that have proposed a research question, or it may be a partner that you have found yourself. So we have a framework and facilitation whereby if you want to really explore and maybe even chase your dream employer, we'd absolutely encourage you to maybe use the dissertation as that vehicle in there. So we would help you and facilitate with that framework to hopefully try to onboard them as a collaborative dissertation partner organisation. So it's a 12-week research project. So it's the last part of a master's degree. It is optional. It's not something you have to do. And indeed, the collaborative project is optional now for some programs too as well. So new slide, please. So why do we do this? Well, if it's not already obvious, we want to really bring you a deep experience of working with leading industry partners. It's not an internship, it's deeper than that. It's working actually on really contemporary challenges with these organizations. It's with teams that are actively working on these challenges, some of them at quite senior levels. We want to help you learn how to create connections. It's a fantastic skill to have, and it as we all know, connections are absolutely crucial to where we progress ourselves. But we want to provide you with some initial connections too. We want you to learn how to work in teams. We can see it around the world. Collaboration is absolutely crucial to societal progress, but also industry progress too. So it's a great place to learn and sometimes make mistakes, but learn from them in the safe environment of Loughborough University, London. And finally, we want to expose you to contemporary challenges. We want you to be working on things that are really new and are going to set you up ready for your next step in your career. And so we've talked about this enterprise space, which is now called future space. And it's all about the future. So we can see this quote here from Abraham Lincoln: the best way to predict the future is to create it. So everything around future space is geared to help you, connect your future ambitions to your progress. So I'm part of Future Space, so I work in the curriculum, but I sit with colleagues that work in more of an extracurricular modality and offer some of the things I'm going to talk to you about next too. So Future Space. Three key things really about Future Space. We look about reflection and action. So we have things like Personal Best London, which again it's a framework to help you progress your own development towards, again, helping you towards your future ambitions. We've got careers, we've got mentoring, we've got guest lectures, alumni panels. Second part of it, skills, so workshops, additional programs there, regards to training. And finally, we've got experience. So we've got hackathons, we've got work insights projects, we've got Collaborate, which I've talked about at length already, volunteering, part-time work, graduate route opportunities. The world is your oyster, basically. And if it's not there and it's of interest, we are such a kind of an open team. We really want to be learning and evolve and look to put those programs in as we go, really, too, as is needed. So next slide, please, Rob. So what have we been up to recently? Just a few examples. Careers Insight event, a huge event that was jam-packed. We brought together a bunch of our alumnus that are now working at some really cool places. We also had speakers there as well from some of these organizations listed there as inspiration. but it was huge, but it was also intimate. So we saw students interacting with some of these alumnus and organisations too, and a little bit different to a careers fair where they could interact in more depth, and it was people actually working in these spaces rather than necessarily simply recruiters, which you might typically find at a careers fair. Monday mentoring. So this is proving really popular since we've introduced it the last couple of years. So mentors from industry around the local community here in London support students in reaching goals. So yeah, 6 weekly sessions in small groups, and yeah, it's proving very successful with students. And yeah, the 4th cohort indeed will begin next month too. So digital skills. So this is an opportunity if you want to develop your digital skills to work on effectively a small project with one of our partners, sometimes smaller partners, but you'd be working directly on a project with them. It's a 30-hour work insights project. And again, sometimes students in that organisation have developed such a nice relationship. There's some students who've maybe been offered employment directly off the back of that too. Venture Crawl, really cool event that's certainly I've seen evolve the last 5 years that I've been at Loughborough London. Loughborough London was one of the founders of Venture Crawl, but it brings together 30 universities around the world now. It was originally just London, but it's around the world. And they basically go on an adventure around London to explore the entrepreneurship ecosystem. So dropping into some of the incubators and the accelerator programs, getting to know what the opportunities are right now while you study, but also setting you up well to understand where, if you have some of these big ideas or want to take your enterprise efforts further, where could you go next? So really teeing you up there nicely. And I think I'll wrap some of this up now with a few pictures. So just to give you a flavour of what life is like here. So these images here are actually from our collaborative project program. So you can see some of the activities to get teams together and getting them working together or getting to know each other. You can see here we have a little sneak preview of a tower building kind of icebreaker that's been used, and it's not just students that do it, the staff do it as well. So very open staff set too, and we're constantly experimenting on how we can take that to the next level. The space at Loughborough London was designed with the whole Collaborate program in mind. Collaboration again is one of those fundamental principles. So you'll see not just classrooms at Loughborough London, but open spaces where out of the classroom you can get together with your peers to work on projects. Maybe it's a collaborative project, maybe it's some other collaboration as part of your curriculum. But yeah, really geared towards that. And you can see here, this is actually a picture from Collaborative Project Day. So, all teams from all, I think this year there was 24 different organizations, but all teams get together and work on their projects outside the classroom as well. And yeah, I think we've got a bit of a checklist here of what you might experience, or if you did come here and do the collaborative project, for example. So I won't read through them there, but some key things that I've maybe talked about already: team formation, to creativity and ideation, business modeling, reporting on that. But again, the way in which these sessions are structured, it's very much about coming up with your idea that's well researched, testing it, but also presenting it as well. And some great opportunity to get into the habit of pitching ideas effectively too. And you can see some of our students there doing that at the bottom. This image here is actually from the Collaborative Project show. So we hold it actually with one of our neighbours, Plexel. It's aiming to become one of Europe's biggest innovation hubs. They've got a fantastic big theatre that it's a real pleasure to work with them on and host the event. But you can see a large public event. This was the beginning of the event, but yeah, it's one of those items that you could become involved with, whether you're a nominated team or whether you wanted to attend as a student too. yeah, just a few more here. You can see that the activity of the Collaborative Project show too. Students presenting their work with the easels. This is a picture of me, different hairstyle, different beard. But I just wanted to show you this as an example of what we're doing in the background too. So we're constantly speaking to prospective, really exciting partners. So I actually visited China. This was before the pandemic. But yeah, speaking to some of our partners, are actually nicely founded by some of our alumnus. You know, they've really enjoyed their time with us. They want to bring the company they go on to work with into the equation too. So I was having that discussion with the founder of what was a really impressive electric skateboard there. Yeah, just to give you a flavour of the kind of things we're doing here at Loughborough. We're not just London or UK based, but around the world. And here is actually one of our alumnus that I got to visit too, and this is with you may know a big travel company called Sea Trip that she's gone on to work for. Yeah, some of the Collaborative Project partners that we've worked with 2021 season. I'm just thinking of names that you may know. Ring Central, one of the world's biggest communications platforms, to West Ham United Foundation, Ogilvy, as I mentioned already. Ticketmaster Sport, you may know them. International Paralympic Committee, you may know them as well too if you're into sport. But yeah, a whole range, big, small, profit, not for profit. We really like to put that range out there for students to really pursue the kind of organisations that fit best for them. And with that, it's very much time for me to hand over to our fantastic students. And Rob, did you want to say a few words before we proceed?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashley, for running through very comprehensive introduction and overview about the opportunities at Loughborough University, London. I think we are very unique to a lot of UK universities, not only the location, but the links to industry, and the way we design our curriculum is really with that future job in mind. But we're obviously, we're delighted to talk to you today, but I think what was really going to be crucial for you guys listening in or watching this recording back is to hear from some of our Indian students. So they may have been where you are last year or a couple of years ago, wondering, where am I going to study? What am I going to do? What advice can I get? You know, I'm lost. I've got so many options, too many options, if anything. So I'm going to start with you, Abby, if that's okay. If you're okay to just tell us a little bit about your background. So what part of India you're from, what you're studying at Loughborough, and how you came to find out about Loughborough, and just introduce a little bit about your experience would be lovely today.
Sure, Rob. Thanks for that. So yeah, like you said, my name's Abhinav. I'm from Hyderabad in India, but I did my education in Bangalore. So I studied there for my undergrad. Throughout my life, I've always been an athlete. So from a very young age, I was always in tennis and always wanted to be in sport. But, at the age of 18, I had to make a decision to either continue playing or, pursue my further education. So at the time, I decided to do a bachelor's in business administration. Finished that in around 2018. I got recruited out of college, worked for a few years, but, I always wanted to come back into the sporting industry. So I think around 2019, 2020, I started researching where I could possibly go. Most websites, everything came up saying, Loughborough is #1 for sports. So that was a clear choice for me. So it took no time. I applied to Loughborough, and I'm currently pursuing sport analytics and technologies over here. And almost done, I would say. So term time's almost ending, dissertation starting. And yeah, that's just a brief about me.
Perfect. Really good to hear about your experience. And obviously it's great to know your background and how that's, shifted into the sporting context as well. So what's next? I guess you're on the job hunt. What would be the move for you now? What are you looking to do in terms of a job and perhaps staying in the UK? What's your plan?
So yeah, the main reason to come to the UK also was to enter the motorsport industry. So I've been fortunate or lucky enough to do my collaborative dissertation with Formula E. So I'm currently working with Formula E through Collaborate, what Ashley just spoke about. So just still in the starting stages, still trying to get a grasp of what exactly needs to be done with the dissertation. But hopefully the plan is to stay in the UK, get a job in motorsport, and take it from there then.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Abhinav, we'll come back to you later on. I'm sure your insight will be really, really useful, but thank you for now for the very useful introduction, and thanks for being part of the call today. So Maz, you're next. Nice to see you here. Thanks for joining. If you're okay to introduce yourself and a little bit about what you're studying and what your background is, that would be great.
Sure. Firstly, good to see you as well. It's been a while. And thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about my experience. So, similar to Abby, in a lot of ways, I did my bachelor's in India itself, but did it in finance. Was fortunate enough to get placed at KPMG back home in Mumbai. And then decided that I need to transition into sports because that's where my true passion lies. So decided to apply to Loughborough. There was no other option for me. The only place I wanted to be. Loughborough was sort of like I would say a dream ever since I decided that I was going to do my master's, because everyone knows it's the number one sports university in the world, no doubt. The number of Olympic medals speaks volumes of it. And I had spoken to some seniors, or rather just alumni as well, and just the types of personalities they was something that really struck me. And I said, yeah, this is where I will go if I given the opportunity, and it all worked out. So decided to apply for my master's in sport business and leadership, and it's been a great experience so far. And looking forward to it, and have plans of staying in London and working, because where else to be rather apart from here when it's the mecca of sports. So yeah.
So you and both, I mean, I've spoke a little bit about your love of sports. So have you been able to, now the UK is kind of opening up with COVID and people are back in stadiums and everything like that, have you been able to, go along to your sports hobbies of choice? Have you been able to play sports during your degree? Tell us a little bit about that. Away from the academic sporting stuff, what about your hobbies?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Firstly, to be in London, of course, but also the proximity to London Stadium just gives you that entire feel. Every match day when West Ham are playing, it's just a pretty surreal experience. As for like the other side of things, we play regularly as a group altogether. We have so many Loughborough students over here. We all go and we play at the Hackney Marshes, which is not too far from Stratford, where the university is located. We play football twice a week. I play basketball with a few people as well. Everything is available and close by. Everything is free. A lot of things are free. A lot of the activities that we do are free as well. The university has been nice enough to even have tie-ups for tennis, so we get to play on the same tennis courts that held the Olympic Games. We had a swimming event today at the Aquatic Center, which was the Olympic pool. So it's pretty surreal, and it sort of gets you nostalgic if you are like a sports fan and you have that love for sport that certainly the three of us on the panel share. It's been pretty amazing. And I just wanted to come back to one more thing as well. If you do, and this is just personal advice for all the students coming in, if you do, then Ashley and Ben Cole will be your go-to people. Do leverage the future space, because it's been a game changer for me personally as well, in terms of networking, the people I've been able to interact with. The fact that we are sitting here in front of you today is also thanks in a lot of ways to them. And additionally, I've been fortunate enough to get my collaborative dissertation as well in football, which was my aim, and it's with Chelsea, so can't complain.
Really nice to hear, and as a football fanatic, it's certainly a great place to be. I can definitely vouch for that. Lovely, thank you, Maz. And last but not least, we've got Sandeep on the call here. So Sandeep, you've been sitting very patiently. Over to you for your introduction.
Thank you. I'd like to start with where Mazhar left. Like, we are planning to play frisbee in the evening at 4 p.m. at Hackney Marshes, and after that we have a football session as well. So it'll be a fun Friday for us. And apart from that, what I did from my undergrad is mechanical engineering from Symbiosis Institute of Technology in Pune, but I'm from Hyderabad, so I haven't got any work experience. I just passed out my undergrad in 2021, and straight after that, I had to do something related to sports. So I found this particular course, like sports analytics and technologies, which was the perfect combination for me, like an engineer's love for numbers and sports enthusiast's love for sports. So it was the best thing for me to do at Loughborough. So here I am.
Perfect. Great to hear. And I guess a follow-up question from me would be, you're here as a student and you're obviously getting involved in these events, but tell me a bit about opportunities such as part-time jobs. You're wearing your student ambassador t-shirt, I can see today. So
Yeah.
what is that about? Tell perhaps the audience about the part-time job opportunities that you may be able to get as well.
Okay, so like I started my part-time job in the month of October. There is a bar named Italian Job, so I was a bartender over there. So it was a nice experience for me to work over there, and especially learn how to make drinks and interact with people. And student ambassador job gives me opportunity to share my experience with you guys, and it is a good way to make connections as well with people in the university and make some new friends. That's it.
Really good to see that there's quite a variety of different jobs as well. So obviously a part-time job for a lot of people will be working in, as you mentioned, in a bar or a restaurant or a shop, but the university provides opportunities for students to show people around, attend these kind of webinars, be kind of a voice of the university, but also to be able to share experience and help others. So it looks really good on the CV. It can help with your confidence and experience. But again, it's something that we'd really recommend to students if they do come to study with us. Do think about working part-time, because not only does it help financially, but it gives you those skills. And for some of you, it may not be that you've worked before in your life, and that's okay. So being able to work in the UK, even for a part-time job, there are lots of benefits to that. So that's great. So Sandeep, we'll start with you, but perhaps Abby and others are very happy for you to jump in here. Where do you live in London? So obviously you're studying here East, which is on the Olympic Park in East London. Do you live in East London yourself?
Yep, I do live in East London, like right across the Olympic Park. There is a student accommodation by Unite Students. So it's just a 10 or 15 minutes walk, and it is accessible, convenient to live over there. You have a tube station right around the mall. You have the mall just the next door. Like you can just go out and get starting from coffee to meal or groceries, anything. And if you step on the other side, you find an Olympic Park, great atmosphere to play or take a walk or go for a jog in the evening. It's the perfect location to live in London, right around the campus.
Perfect. And Maz, Abby, are you the same, or do you guys live somewhere different?
No, we're all in the same accommodation, Rob. But what's also great about Stratford is the connectivity, the fact that it's almost connected to every line, so you can get to anywhere in London pretty quickly. And with the new Elizabeth line opening up as well, I think that's going to be another game changer. So getting around London's a big city, no doubt, it's way too big. So having this connectivity just makes life so much easier, because for those who are even visiting London for the first time ever, you'd want to go to central London, see everything, visit all the tourist sites as well. So it's around 15-20 minutes on the train and you're there and out and about. So I think that's the great part about living in Stratford in general, and obviously the convenience of it being so close to university.
Perfect. Thanks, Mas. And Abby, we'll come to you on a slightly different note. As we kind of wrap up this section about student experience, you've all been in India, maybe attending these kind of webinars before. You've gone through the process, you've applied, you've joined. Looking back now, what kind of advice would you give for people who are sat where you were last year or a couple of years ago, based on the fact that the UK is a different culture, probably a bit colder than students are used to. What advice, if anything, if you were to give one piece of advice to any student looking to study at Loughborough London, what would it be?
Yeah, so maybe I could break that down in a few parts. So I think when we're looking at the application process, I think starting sooner is much better than starting later. So at least you have your priorities set and you have your timelines in mind, and you know when you're getting here, and you know what forms are required, because it's not that straightforward, coming from India, because sometimes if you're just graduating, your university, for example, wouldn't have given you your final certificate. So then you only end up getting a conditional offer instead of an unconditional. So, the sooner you start, getting through all these administrative stuff, it's easier that way. I think coming to London, it's completely different to what you're going to expect, at least from an education point of view. It's more research based and more applied compared to India. So I think India, it's more textbook oriented and more exam oriented. But believe it or not, in 1 year, I have not had a single exam here. So it's very different in that aspect. So it's very research, and the onus is mostly on you to do better. So you will pass, but doing well is on you. So that's another thing. And then I think lastly, if you're just looking at it from a student point of view, it's London. So, there's no complaining. There's always something to do here. And I think the university also understands that and gets in speakers, gets in events. So all in all, this is how I would say, you can expect it to be different, but definitely it's eye-opening and it's something you should experience.
So useful. Thank you so much, guys. And that's all we have really time for in terms of our presentation slot today. Huge thanks to Ashley and our ambassadors who've been able to share their time with you all today and also share their experience and advice. Deepika, I'm just coming to you now to see if any of our students watching have any questions that they've listed for us to go through.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for such a knowledgeable presentation. We can now move towards the Q&A session. The first question the student is asking, what is the employability rate for the postgraduates?
I think it's quite difficult for us to give a certain percentage, and Ashley can perhaps help with this one as well. But I think what we would do is every year we have lots of these events that we've talked about and lots of these industry tie-ups and allowing students to choose which route they want to go through. So even a part-time job, an internship, collaborate, whatever it would be, the more you put into it, the higher chances that's going to help with your employability. Ashley, is there anything you want to add to that in terms of, I guess, student successes and maybe advice and how students would maybe connect to some of our graduates?
Yeah, absolutely. We put a big onus on actually students getting up to date with their LinkedIn. So we do things as simple as, we host a professional photography session so you can update your profile. Our career consultants are there on hand to help you, really optimize your LinkedIn. We hold actual sessions from those that have actually been working at LinkedIn. So insider, tips there. And so building on that, given that most of our students that are really looking to progress will have a good profile on LinkedIn, I'd absolutely encourage you to use the search tool on LinkedIn and look for our alumnus from Loughborough University in London. And that'll give you kind of a flavour of what our students are doing after they've graduated. And certainly I'd be surprised if you reached out to any of our Loughborough alumnus that I'd expect them to probably respond to you and kindly share some maybe tips if you're interested.
Thank you, Ashley. The next question, do you have student accommodation? If yes, how does it work?
So we're not blessed with our own accommodation as such. It's an opportunity to study in London. We don't own the Olympic Park, but we have a space on that, and students are able to benefit from that space. What we would say is that I'd say perhaps most of our students, and all three of our panelists today can back me up here, is that the Unite Stratford 1 accommodation is very convenient, not only in terms of location and proximity, but it allows you to, if you're lucky with a certain, depending on your view, you've got an amazing view from your room as well. So that could be a really nice thing to factor in. So that's really convenient. Now, for students on a budget, we have a partnership with student.com, that offers many opportunities in or around London. So you don't have to live in East London, but I guess you just need to factor in any transport costs that you would have to commute from one part of London to the other, and depending on your timetable. So it might be easier to live in East London, where actually there are some affordable options rather than living in central London, where things get a little bit more expensive. But for one of our long-standing partners, I suppose the easiest way of me to describe it is that a lot of our students go to the Unite Stratford one. I'm going to ask Jason or my colleague Flo to maybe just link in the chat box the opportunity for students to look at the accommodation options. So we've got a Loughborough London accommodation page there. And perhaps, Deepika, you can post that into the comments for the YouTube viewers as well.
Thank you, Rob. The next question. I have 1 year of a gap after my graduation. Can I apply for a master's in marketing?
So Loughborough London specifically would offer a few different forms of marketing. It would be in the form of digital marketing or in sport marketing. Our campus in the East Midlands offers a pure degree in marketing. And we're not overly concerned about gaps in education or gaps between when you've worked and what you're doing now, as long as you can justify it. So for example, if you have got, and during the pandemic, of course, it's been very, very difficult for people to find work or continue working in certain sectors. So we do appreciate that. I think if there are any gaps and we're a bit concerned when it comes to the application cycle, we may just ask you in an email, can you just tell us a little bit more about this? Can you tell us a little bit more about why there's a gap or what you've been doing in that area, or tell us about that, because it might be quite subjective. It might be a personal scenario. So we're not overly worried about students who have got gaps. As long as you can kind of tell us a little bit more information if required, that's normally okay.
Thank you, Rob. The next question. What is the application process for the upcoming September and January intake? Please explain.
So yeah, we have very good question. We've got two intakes of our London Institute. So we've got an intake in October. So students typically arrive in kind of September, end of September time, and they would normally have inductions and activities starting from early October. The application process is still going on now, and we'd advise students to get in touch with their local SIUK office, meet the counsellors there, and you can make an application through them should you wish. There is also a Jan intake that happens for a select number, not all, but a select number of, I'd say perhaps quite popular courses where we tend to get larger intakes in January as well. So those applications are also open. You've obviously got a little bit more time if you're looking for Jan. But if you, for example, now are unsure whether you can meet the Jan intake or the October intake, you can apply for one. And if it's possible within your own personal journey, you're able to switch to the other intake, that's fine. You wouldn't need to submit a separate application. So it is possible to, for example, apply for the October intake. And if anything goes wrong, you can defer to the January intake as well. The January intake is quite nice for those who are struggling to perhaps get a visa on time, or for those who have not been able to get their results because the pandemic, we know, has still got a bit of a backlog with playing catch up. So the Jan intake is also a very good viable option for students coming to the UK in January as well. So we have two options.
Thanks, Rob. The next question. Could you give more insights on the part-time jobs in maintaining college?
Yeah, I think we've touched on that already. But yeah, absolutely. So as Ashley's mentioned, as part of the experience element to what we would do, part-time jobs is quite key. So a number of students, whilst it's not compulsory, a number of our students work in our events. There are also voluntary opportunities as well, which are unpaid, but again, look very good on your CV and good for networking. So other than some of the student ambassador roles, we've touched today on other opportunities in working in restaurants, bars, being very close to the Westfield Shopping Centre, which is one of the largest shopping centres of its kind in Europe. It's not only good if you're a foodie or a shopaholic, but it's really good for part-time work as well. So there are lots of opportunities to I guess, add value to your career by working part-time, and obviously you can get some pocket money as well. So it's a win-win.
I'll just add as well there, Rob, just come back to the Collaborate programme. If you were to do, for example, a collaborative dissertation, we do have a pathway called the internship-based pathway where, yes, you've still got to do your research, your dissertation thesis, but you can also potentially complete an internship at the same time where you'd be doing operational activities. And we do receive some of those opportunities, and those that we advertise here, we make sure they're paid at the minimum London living wage, which is currently £10.85 an hour. So there is that opportunity there, but we certainly would encourage you to go research first. It's all about the research, and great if it matches up with an internship at the same time and it fits in terms of your timetable and the time that you've got available to complete that extra work.
Thank you, Robin and Ashley. The next question is, does admission for masters require 16 years of education or 15 years is fine?
I don't think we'd necessarily penalise students depending on that. So typically students would follow the route of, let's say they do their 12 standard, that's 12 years of education. Then they may do a 3 years commerce degree without a gap. Then I'm presuming that takes them up to 15 years of education. So we accept 3 years, which we know is very common for commerce-based subjects anyway, or we accept 4 years, or we accept 3 years if you've got that experience, plus then you've gone and got work experience. So there's no, I guess, minimum age. You would need to have a bachelor's degree. I think that's fairly standard. But we also have students who join us later in their career. So there are lots of different ages, and at university, particularly being a postgraduate campus, age doesn't really matter. So that's just something that we would do. As long as you meet the entry requirements, then the amount of time in education isn't a factor for us.
Thanks, Rob. The next question, should we apply for scholarships separately, or is it considered automatically when you apply via UCAS?
So yeah, I mean, I guess the fact is maybe a slight confusion from the student who's posted this question. This is a postgraduate only campus, so we don't have undergraduate studies. So it's not through UCAS. UCAS is a common app for undergraduate studies for international students. To apply for Loughborough for our postgraduate opportunities in London, you would just log on to our website, search apply, and you can apply directly free of charge. There's no cost to apply, and as we've said, SI UK can help you with that. So the two scholarships that we offer, the merit-based is, as it suggests, you don't need to apply for it. It's automatically considered when you can show us that you've got those grades required. And then there's the Dean's Award for Enterprise, as we've discussed, which is an application-based scholarship that's focused on the outcome of a very strong application, looking at a new business venture, idea, service, gap, whatever it would be that a student would have interest in. So that is an application base. So first of all, you do need an offer of study. It's only typically available for students coming in October every year, and their deadline is the end of July. So if you are joining this call now and thinking, actually, that sounds good, and I'd like to apply for London programme, apply as soon as you can, because you've only got until the end of July to not only receive your offer, but to be able to apply for the 90% scholarship.
Thanks, Rob. The next question. I have 3 years of experience in HR. Can I apply for MBA in the coming intakes? Is there any 1 year specialized MBA? Please let me know.
Yeah, so there are MBA opportunities, not within our London campus. We have MBA opportunities within our School of Business and Economics that's based in the East Midlands. So it's based at the Loughborough campus. 3 years of experience is normally the minimum criteria. We just do one straight MBA, non-specialised MBA. Ideally, within those 3 years, we like to see management experience as well. But if you just Google Loughborough MBA or Loughborough MBA, you can find a lot more information on that there. There's also an internship route as well. So it's an option to do a 2-year MBA, which includes paid work experience in the second year.
Thanks, Rob. The next question. What is the IELTS score needed? Can we take admission without IELTS in masters?
Very good question. Typically, we're seeing that students are taking IELTS because they're applying for multiple destinations, which IELTS is recognised globally. So if you're taking IELTS, 6.5 is what you would need overall, with 6.0 in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. So no band can be less than 6. Commonly, though, we are also seeing from an India perspective, a lot of students who have very good scores in their high school. So standard 12 English is considered normally for a waiver. So if you are from the CBSE or ISC stream, 75% in English will mean the IELTS is typically waived off. And from certain state boards, we recognise English on the 80% basis. So if you have 80% in standard 12, then IELTS is also waived off, or the equivalent TOEFL, Pearson's, whatever it would be. We'd recommend you think about taking IELTS because it's a great qualification to have. Again, it's valid for 2 years, but it may not be compulsory for you for admission.
Thank you, Rob. We have covered all the questions from the chat box. Many thanks for answering all the questions so well and sharing your knowledge with us. We are now moving towards the end of this seminar. I would request if you have anything else you guys want to put forward for the audience who are watching us live right now.
Well, thank you all for joining, and great to hear some very, very sensible questions that students are clearly engaged and want to learn more. So that's really nice to hear. I guess from my perspective, good luck with your next move, whether that will be further studies, continuing your current studies, working in India and thinking of coming to the UK in future. Best of luck with that. And please let us know if we can help you with your journey. The London campus email is there on the screen, quite easy to remember, london@loughborough.ac.uk. Please connect with us. We're very active on LinkedIn, as we've mentioned as well. So really good to find out more. We're on all major forms of social media. So that's it. And again, from me, just a big thank you to the team, Deepika and the guys behind the scene, making sure this session is working today and preparing for that. So we've really enjoyed ourselves. Thank you so much. And again, I'd like to pass on my thanks to Ash and our ambassadors today, Jason as well, for helping with all the preparation. So yeah, a big thanks from me. Ashley, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, I think you've covered everything there, Rob. But yeah, look forward to potentially seeing you next time round, and let's take the collaborations further. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words. To all the audience, if you have any further questions, please feel free to contact our SIUK India offices. We'll be more than happy to help you. In the end, I would like to say thank you so much for your valuable time today. Take care. Bye-bye.